My name is Tyler Fornes, and I am one of the co-hosts of the Good, the Bad, and the Hungee AEW podcast here on the Voice of Wrestling Podcasting Network. We take a broad scope approach to the world of All Elite Wrestling and the entire universe of Tony Khan. We talk about the big matches, the big stars, the promos, the storylines, and we also look at it from a big picture perspective. How are things going to change over the course of the next 10 years with AEW still in the picture? How are companies like WWE going to adapt and adjust to AEW? Are they going to be a similar way like they did with WCW in the late 1990s? Will there be a counterpunch? We talk about all of that and more on The Good, the Bad, and the Hungee every week on the Voices of Wrestling Network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back to another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Hungee here on the Voice of Wrestling Podcasting Network. I'm your host, Tyler Fornes. With me, as always, is Fred Moreland, who is finally done traveling to Philadelphia, but he couldn't be bothered to see the show. How dare you, Fred? How are you?
I got there like an hour after the show had started and decided it wasn't worth the fight. So
Fair enough.
I'm glad I made that decision, considering how late it ended. My God, the show too long. Too long, I think, is a fair way to put this.
Yeah, they've made a habit of having their pay-per-views now go 4.5 hours, which I think if the content is good and it's consistent, I have no problem with it. But when you're on the East Coast and so much of those cities rely on public transportation, it can be a little bit of a hassle. I know, like, just here, we have almost no public transportation unless you're actually in the city of Minneapolis or St. Paul. But they have a light rail, and we would take light rail to the Twins games every once in a while because it was so much easier than trying to find parking. But during like the home openers, they would like during the week they stopped running the light rail like 7 or 8 o'clock, so you might miss the last light rail train. They've since fixed that, but just absolutely annoying to have to leave like the home opener early. But then I think we may see East Coast pay-per-views kind of slow down for that purpose. We'll find out. But Fred, overall level, what did you think of the show?
It was good-ish, I think, is where I come down on it. I don't think it was a disaster by any stretch. I think I did not watch the pre-show, so I only got like the 4 hours and 20 minutes of the main show. There were some good matches on it. I don't know. Yeah, there was a match of the year contender on it. There were a couple that were like very nice matches, and a couple that were disappointing but not bad, just like decentish. Definitely nothing like that four-way match with Moxley and Orange Cassidy at the end of last year that like nearly broke me on the whole Death Riders thing. Right now, I'm like, yeah, the Death Riders are trending okay.
They're fine.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing good business, which is now I get it with the Copeland build because that was pretty good storytelling in the last few weeks heading into the show. And I think that I don't think the Swerve build was bad, but it was short. But Swerve is super over. And I just I don't know. Like Moxley's work is not great right now for the most part. It's kind of House of Torture North America edition right now, and that's not terribly working for me, but it's also not that bad, I guess is where I'm coming. Like it's not great by any stretch. It's not bad either. So this is kind of in that like in between of like, well, It's fine, I guess.
It's
You
weird.
know.
Weird, I think, is a
Yeah.
really good way to frame this.
What did you think of the show
I
overall?
thought this would have been a phenomenal pay-per-view if it was like Vengeance or Bad Blood. This was just a B-level type of show, and I think it over-delivered for what the card was, but I don't think it was a great AEW show. Last I checked on Cage Match, it was like a 6.7. I
Yeah.
think that's a fair rating, especially when you look at it in terms of what AEW is and has been from a pay-per-view cycle standpoint. Like, look, they only had a couple matches that were super well built. A lot of stuff that was like, hey, Owen Hart tournament, or
Yeah.
like a couple like 2 or 3 week builds, which they're fine. I really liked it. I enjoyed myself. We're going to talk about the finish of the show, which I'm going to remain optimistic that they won't screw it up, because on the surface at the moment it's like, what are we doing here? But it's less about the actual moment itself, and it's more about the follow-up and how you utilize what you did. That to
Yeah.
me is more important, and that is still a big question mark. And after watching this past week's Dynamite, but let's kind of get into it. I watched the last match of the pre-show because my wife and I were making hot pot at home.
Ooh
we,
la la.
we got a hot pot. It's pretty cool. So we missed Fred didn't watch any of the pre-show, but
I
trios
did
match,
not know.
Nick Wayne, Action Andretti, and Leo Rush defeated Airflox and Top Flight. But I did catch the final match, which I like what they're doing. Now we have 2 instances where they've done big angles at the end of the pre-show, almost making it must watch. Like, you need to catch the end of these pre-shows. And that was the return of Anthony Bowens, defeating Platinum Max Caster in a squash. They're going to get behind Bowens here, and I like that. I think Bowens is, to me, he's always going to have a ceiling of maybe an upper mid carder. I don't think he's ever going to I think you could build him up as a good TV world title challenger, but I don't think he's ever going to get higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I also think it's going to be, like, from a PR standpoint, a good thing, because Bowens is gay, but you wouldn't know it unless he tells you, because he's just a normal wrestler, and I think that kind of representation is a great thing, because so often, like, you see wrestlers in other companies, like, it's their entire personality. No, it doesn't have to be your entire personality. There are other aspects to being a human than your sexuality. So I think this is, from a perspective of inclusion, I think this is fantastic. But just as a professional wrestling standpoint, Bowens has earned a push. He got super over. He's very solid in the ring. I don't think he's great, but he's completely inoffensive. He doesn't make mistakes, and his moves are physical and crisp. Like, you have a good mid-carder to upper mid-carder here, and I think it's time to give him a push. With Billy Gunn, I don't like that too much, but I'll let it play out.
Yeah, I mean, AEW is fond of the babyface manager, and I think that they've done a good job of like making them be used well. Um, it's not just like it's effective, I think, is what they're doing, with the likes of Prince Nana.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that there are legs to that, and I think it's great actually, in a sense, to be able to have babyface managers and have them, be part of the show. It makes sense, from time to time. And I'm okay with Billy Gunn as a ringside guy, as a manager. Now, I I hope we never see him wrestle again. Uh,
Me too.
I think he's done enough of that nonsense. It's not a good worker, especially these days. But you know, you have him do a tag match once in a while or something. That's okay. We can work with that. But yeah, I mean, ringside for Bowens to help him get over. Because Gunn is over. He's not a fantastic talker by any stretch, but he's over. So they can work with that.
Yeah, I think this could be really interesting. We'll find out where it goes. Calling him the 5-tool player, which obviously a baseball reference.
Mhm.
So we'll see where that goes. The show started off with a bang, though. Arguably the best match on the show. Will Ospreay defeats Kevin Knight in the opening round of the Owen Hart Foundation Men's Tournament. Fred, this rocked.
It was really fun.
I loved like Knight really got shine here, and this is a guy you could probably beat with like an Os cutter, but he was resilient, and it took a full hidden blade to beat him. I thought this was great. I thought it really showcased what Knight can do, because this audience doesn't know outside pro wrestling like the audience of 4 or 5 years ago did. So
yeah,
great showcase of him. Yeah, I know it is very unfortunate. I really like this. I went 4.25 plus. I thought they had great chemistry. They were explosive. They were physical. They were high flying. They did a little bit of everything, and I thought it was great. The Os cutter that Kevin Knight turned into a backslide was one of the coolest counters I've seen in a long time. It's hard to be creative nowadays, and that was one of the more creative spots I've seen.
Yeah, I thought that Knight acquitted himself very well here. There was a little roughness early on, if I recall correctly, but I think by the end of it, Knight came off very well, I thought. You had some good work from him. You had, I mean, for God's sake, Will was not going to let him not have a good outing. And I mean, Kevin Knight is tremendously athletic. So that if he gets a good opportunity with someone like Will Ospreay, then you're going to have a good match. And Ospreay did more than his fair share to make sure whenever I did listen to a little bit of the flagship review of the show, and I did hear Joe go off about how a little bit. No, I don't want to make it sound like he was losing his mind or anything, but he did talk about how you know that Ospreay did not need to hit like every single big move he has, and I think that's a fair point. He could have not gone through all of his finishers to finish this matchup, but if that's your biggest complaint, I mean, I think it was a good match. It was an enjoyable match. I went 4 stars on it. Very solid work. Kevin Knight had a nice, not really debut match, but big opportunity match, and acquitted himself quite well. I'm excited to see what he does in AEW. I hope that he, it smells like he's going to be positioned as a solid mid carder, and that's okay. Especially as like a starting point for him. I think that there's a possibility that he'll move higher up the card if he, finds his charisma and ability to present himself like a star. But it's a good starting point for him, and it's nice to have some fresh blood in AEW.
And he's Ospreay adjacent, which I think is also really good for him. Ospreay needs to have friends in this promotion, and he's got one.
It's nice to have. Yeah, if they're ever like, he's feuding with someone, they need to do a tag match. Well, you got the built-in. Kevin, you can always call him Kevin Knight for that spot.
Mm-hmm. I will say,
real nice for that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I kind of mentioned in my portion of the review that, maybe he could have just hit the Os cutter and this would have been one of those guys. I've kind of just been thinking about it over the course of the last few minutes. I actually think it was smart this go around to establish him as, hey, I need to hit all these moves, because you just don't want him in his like first really big match in the promotion just get beat easily. You're establishing him as a real threat. You're establishing him as somebody to pay attention to and take serious. So I kind of like that they made a point to have the finish be, you have to take this guy serious. It's going to take more than just a secondary finisher to beat him. You're going to have to beat him.
Yeah, they tried to establish him as a or at least as far as the finishers go, they definitely tried to establish him as like a tougher out, to use a baseball term there, than some other people, and I think it worked pretty well, honestly. So,
yeah. All right, next match, We Hurt People, the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin defeated the Learning Trees, Big Bill and Brian Keith. Man, the Hurt Syndicate rules so much. Has there ever been a cooler collective group of wrestlers in recent memory?
Not that I can particularly think of.
God, the charisma like Bobby Lashley, so often he looks like a charismaless void where he's just like, I don't care. But that also fits really well with what this is, where
Yeah.
it just works. And Shelton Benjamin looks rejuvenated. I would never know he's in his late 40s. Like,
No, he looks great.
an MVP doesn't have to work; he can just talk. That cane is just such a cool little accent piece because
Hmm.
they look incredible. And this whole MJF thing is, I don't know where the direction is going, and we got a little less clarity about that when it comes to what happened at Dynamite. But I think these guys are just a lot of fun. I would love to see them just squash people every single week. Like, just put them on
Yeah,
TV and squash.
yeah. The thing with them is that they are not a going to be typically a real high star rating kind of
No,
match and that's okay. Um,
it's kind of like
I don't.
Goldberg. It's a big vibes thing. It's
Yeah,
good
it's
power
a different,
moves and
and it's good to have like that kind of variety on the show where it's not just you have something a little different and it stands out. And I think that the Hurt business stands out in AEW because of that, and that's a good thing.
mm-hmm.
I thought this match was fine. Well, yeah, it wasn't bad by any stretch. I thought it was like 2 3/4, like just maybe a little short of good. Um, but I'm generally okay with the Hurt business. I think they're positive contributors to AEW, and I'm happy to have them. So would I like to see them have slightly better matches? Sure, but if this is the worst thing on your pay-per-view, you're doing all right. So I'm not that worried about it.
I think that's a great way to frame it. Except, was this the worst thing on the pay per view? We'll get to that later. AEW World
It
Trios
wasn't.
Championship match. Death Riders defeat Rated FTR, and this was less about the match and more about what happened post match. In the
Hmm.
match itself, I don't know, perfunctory three and a
Fine.
quarter, 3.5, inoffensive, good work, good heat spots. They had a nice hot tag, but
Worked pretty
just
well.
it
Yeah.
was just kind of boring. It just kind of existed. I didn't feel anything. It was an emotionless void of a match.
It was professional. I went 3 3/4. And by the way, you missed a match. How dare you? Um,
Oh, I
that
did. Oops.
yeah.
I scrolled too far down. We'll
Womp
get back
womp.
to the match before that in a minute,
Yeah.
which I have a lot
But
to say
I
about
thought
that.
I thought this was a perfectly solid tag match. Three, 3.5. It was nicely worked. Believe that I said early on that one of my biggest concerns with the Death Riders is that it would just kind of demote Claudio and Pac and Yuta, but mainly the first two. I mean, I think Pac's a good worker, but not quite on the level of the other two. But it would demote them to just goon status. And my point being that, if you've got these guys, it'd be nice to have them have great matches, on a regular basis, and that they
Yeah.
would get slotted into spots where that's not really their job, for better or worse. And unfortunately, I turned out to be right on that. Pac and Claudio, I think, at least recently, the past few months, the start of this year, have been very much just outright goon slash lackey mode. And that's kind of a bummer because those two, and again, I'm giving short thrift a little bit here to you, who I think is a good worker. I know some people are hard on him, but I think he's good. But to just have, these guys just be like in the occasional tag match that's really not given enough time to be great or anything, or the focus to be great. It's a damn shame, and now one of them's hurt, and we gotta hate it. Gotta hate that aspect of it.
Yeah, I get that. I think it's more the character than anything, but
Sure, sure. I get that too. I mean, I get why they are in this spot, and I get why it has been a way effective. It's kind of just me being like, man, cock rules. I'd love
He
to have
does.
Pac in singles matches, and Claudio rules, and I'd love to have him in singles matches.
Well, unfortunately, they had to cut the match short on Dynamite, which is him and Swerve Strickland, which had a chance to
Mhm.
be pretty good because he hurt his
And
ankle on a buckle bomb. Hopefully, it's just a high ankle sprain. He really couldn't put any
hopefully,
weight on it. We
yeah,
don't
I
know
just
anything at this
watched that
point.
this morning, and it was not great. He could bear. I mean, he got back in the ring to finish the match, but I mean, he hobbled in there into the thrust kick from Swerve, and not great, Bob. Not great. Um, I know that this has reignited the should we ban the buckle bomb um, discussion. I guess Brian Alvarez had a big discussion slash meltdown, depending on how charitable you want to be about Brian Alvarez. I guess, but I think there is a point to it. Like if guys are just getting hurt regularly with that move, and I think the issue was that Swerve kind of rushed that. It felt like it was executed too fast. Uh, I am not a working expert, so apologies if I am completely misreading that. But that sucks, man. It sucks to have a guy get hurt, and you can replace the buckle bomb.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
I don't really have an issue with the buckle bomb per se, but when you have Sting almost have his career ended because of the buckle bomb, and then
Yeah,
now this happens, I think it's an overreaction, so you need to ban it. But I do think if you're gonna do it, we need to figure out a way to be safer with it. Like
yeah,
Seth Rollins should probably not be doing the buckle bomb at his size. That should be for bigger guys, so it's easier for aiming points. It's easier to hit it consistently because bigger guys are just naturally stronger, kind of thing. But
yeah.
whatever, people get hurt on stupid stuff all the time. People get hurt on
Oh yeah, they do.
clothesline.
I mean, people get hurt going into the ring. I mean,
Vince McMahon.
yeah, Kevin Nash. Also, I mean, you just get hurt sometimes. I got hurt. I'm not an athlete by any stretch, but I got hurt because I could not walk over the curb in Philadelphia properly. You know, you never know. You got baseball players missing time because they slip in the shower, or they cut themselves, or making dinner or whatever.
Mhm.
There's like a couple every year. But you do want to make sure that you're not just doing a move just to do it and have it be a problem. And I think that is I think it's a genuine concern. I think it's something that you should be smart about. And if you sit down and think about it, and I'm not the guy to draw the conclusion on this. I'm not
Yeah.
knowledgeable enough, but if you get your top guys together, your top men, and you have them sit down and have a conversation, be like, is this move safe enough where it's worthwhile doing, or is it a problem? And have them, I kind of think that there could be some kind of discussion on it, or just have it done less often and have it done more carefully, because I do think that part of the issue was that it was rushed. And
Understandable.
yeah, if that's the case, then yeah, you're going to have issues with it. I don't think that's a surprise.
All right.
Anyways, the six
Let's talk.
man, solid, but like you said, the post match was really what mattered here, and I thought this was a damn good turn.
Oh, it
Um,
was a great turn.
yeah,
I I, I want to pick your brain on this because I'm torn.
sure.
Dax makes the turn, and then Cash is
Natalie
like,
Imbruglia. No one needed that joke, but I'm going to make it.
"I'm already torn." Uh, I used to love that song as a kid.
It's a good song, man. It's a good
Very good
song.
song. But it's how Cash reacts to it, and he is like fighting back, and then all of a sudden they just hit the damn shatter machine.
Yeah.
That
I thought it was a
it
little extra before that. Like
it takes me out of it, man.
you
Like
didn't need all that.
Like,
if that's the worst, again, it's one of those like if that's the worst that you can say, I don't know, it's really a major issue. But at the same time, it was a little unnecessary. Like,
yeah,
let's call it what it was. It was a little extra. Um, I don't know that they really needed to be like, oh no, I can't believe you've done this. Why would you turn on a friend that? Oh wait, I am now helping you beat him up. Like that was just kind of like unnecessary. But I think that that's kind of not a defense, but it's kind of par for the course in modern wrestling. Like you can't just have a turn; you got to have a little extra tacked on. A little pizzazz to try to make it feel special or something.
yeah, screw that.
Yeah.
I did like how violent they got, and I think it was
Oh, they
Cash
just killed him.
They even put the neck brace on.
Oh,
Like,
the goofing on the stretcher in
so
particular
good.
was the highlight. That was very good stuff. Yeah, I thought this is a great angle. I really do. Hopefully that will add some juice to FTR because look, I think they're a great tag team, but I think we're also not being truthful for saying that they've been the most interesting tag team recently. Like I actually think in ring they had a good 2024. I just think it was really easy to kind of forget that because they were just kind of like there, not really doing anything interesting at all. And it's good to have your great tag teams be interesting.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
so
But
hopefully that will be the direction for them is to do stuff that matters.
I loved Rich's point on the instant reaction, voicewrestling.com/Patreon, patreon.com/voice of wrestling as I plug our friends. FTR goes through these spurts where they're just boring and uninteresting and nobody cares. And then all of a sudden they rule. And this is
Yeah.
the rule period. Like, okay.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I agree with that. I did not hear that. I didn't get that far in the show, but yeah, man, that is the FTR experience.
And you know what? When they peak, they peak. And it's
Oh
real
yeah,
good. So this is obviously leading to Edge and Christian getting back together. So if that ends up happening, do I care? No. Will it be kind of cool in the mid card because they can both still work? Yeah. Christian, like modern day Christian, is one of my favorite wrestlers. He is just so good and so snarmy and brilliant. And he's got such a great mind for the business. And you can just tell everything he does, even if it's like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this like money in the bank gimmick, which they shouldn't have done.
no,
But the
I
fact
did
that
not need that.
they only did it twice and it was both times with Christian, I think just fits because Christian ex WWE guy. As long as you never do it again, okay, whatever. Uh, I think it works. Everything they've done with Christian's just been awesome. Um, it could be really fun.
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
second, third match on the show. Like, yeah, and you know what? Maybe they get a perfunctory tag team title run. Okay. Would I have them beat the Hurt Business? No, I'd try and put someone else over and then have Cope and Christian beat them. But
Yeah, I think that would work better. I think.
yeah. All right, let's get to the match that came before this because I forgot how to read. TBS champion Mercedes Moné beats Julia Hart. And I got to say, I was so impressed with Julia Hart in this match. She worked so hard and she is getting significantly better. She's 23. She is stupid young. We're not talking about somebody
Hmm.
who's like almost 30,
Yeah,
23. And she's got the charisma, she's got the crowd connection, and the work is improving. It's not great. It's still a little sloppy at points, but you can tell she is working really hard and growing each match. And I thought her effort here was among the best on the show. And Mercedes' effort was bad. I didn't think she really put in a ton of effort here at all. And Julia Hart just outshined her.
you think so?
I
Hmm.
do. Um,
I did not think. I think I come down on thinking that the first half of the match was sloppy, and not particularly good. And it was one of those like the Mercedes matches you get sometimes that are just kind of there, you know. I don't know if I attribute that to like not caring or if it's just kind of an off night. But I think once they got to the ground in the last few minutes of the match, I think it got really good
Yeah, it
actually,
did.
and
Um,
I like that part. Um, yeah, I think I mostly I have a positive review on this. I have it like 3.5 actually. So a good match. Um, Not a great one by any stretch. Not one that I'll like be walking around remembering, in a few months. But it was a
yeah.
nice match. I think Julia still needs to improve some in the ring. I
Oh
think that's
yeah, she
still
does.
probably the biggest weak point with her. But like you said, she is very young, and hopefully she will develop that at some point.
I think she
Um,
will. I gave Julia Hart 4 stars. I gave Mercedes Money 2 3/4.
okay,
I was just
all right, that's pretty fair.
so like as a overall match, 3.5, 3 3/4. Like I was so impressed with Julia Hart here that just keep getting her in big spots, and I hope she works a ton of ROH. I hope like she's the type of person I would just have work ROH every week, and if she's not on AEW TV, and just work a match, just
I
work a
think
match.
she would really benefit from having a run as like the ROH World Champ, um,
I agree,
you
but
know,
that's going to be Billy
away from
Starks.
yeah. I mean, Starks would also benefit from that. So hey, that'll work too.
She was
I,
the
I
TBS champion for a long time, but
she was,
she was more green then than she was now, which she grew a lot,
yeah, she
but
did. I think she also got hurt a lot during that time period, like
she
minor
did.
stuff, nothing major. I do remember her being out like for short
Yeah.
periods, nothing major.
Stuff like
Um,
minor sprains and that kind of stuff. I don't know what her
yeah,
injuries were, but it felt like it was
it's
like
been long enough. I forget now.
yeah, you wouldn't see her in the ring for like 6 weeks at a time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm
It's not like she had to have surgery.
I'm buying a lot of stock in Julia Hart. I don't know if she is multi-time world champion kind of material,
Mhm.
because even though they're almost equal, like I consider the TBS more of the mid card belt, even though Mercedes is holding it, which I know feels kind of weird, but they put less time and effort booking the TBS than they do the TNT, or
Yeah.
sorry, the world title. Um, so we'll kind of see how things go with Julia, but I very impressed, very
Oh,
impressed.
do you have enough time to do a little game here regarding Julia Hart?
Okay, let's do a game.
Okay, cool. So the game is who do you think will be in a better position within women's wrestling? It doesn't necessarily have to be in AEW. They could jump to WWE or whatever. We're gonna play Julia Hart versus the AEW roster. I'll just pick out some names.
In what time
Um,
frame?
5 years in 2030, assuming that we don't all get swallowed by a sinkhole. Um, who do you think is going to have a better career by 2030? Do you think it's going to be Julia Hart or Anna Jay?
Julia Hart. I like Anna Jay, but I haven't seen enough real linear growth like I have with Julia to believe that that's going to happen. She is still very young,
Hmm.
but I would have liked to have seen it more to believe in her more than Julia Hart.
Okay. Julia Hart or Billy Starks?
Julia Hart. Billy Starks still has a lot of potential, but she has she ever really turned the corner yet? I
I
because
don't
it
think
hasn't
tremendously so.
because it hasn't happened. I'm still skeptical. So Julia.
Okay. All right. Julia Hart or let's do Chris Statlander.
Julia Hart. I just think
You think
Statlander's
so?
knee
Okay.
injuries just cratered the where her momentum was in the push, and I just think she's kind of stalled out.
Okay.
Uh,
All right.
I worry
Stat's
about her
only
long
29,
term.
which is
I worry
interesting, I
about her
think.
long term, dude. She's already had 2 ACL reconstructions. Like that's hard.
Yeah, but I think that's very different in the 2020s versus like the 1990s, and that
I
is something to
agree,
keep in mind.
but she's also
Um,
bigger.
yeah,
That's and with women in ACLs, I remember reading a study. Women are more likely to prone their ACL or tear their ACLs because of how they land. They
Mhm.
land more flat-footed, where men land more on the balls of their feet. So the shock absorption is completely different with the knee. So two
Yeah.
ACL injuries like that with how much power and stuff Statlander has really concerns me more than, oddly enough, if she were a male. Because they and you know what, maybe things have changed because I remember reading that in high school, but it's always
Yeah.
stuck with me that women land more flat-footed, and that causes a lot more um pressure and tension on the knee ligaments itself.
I do think women are more prone towards ACL tears still. I don't know, like, the flat-footedness as to other causes, I can't speak on that. But I do think it's more common for a woman to tear her ACL than a male athlete. Um, I think that I think it's less of an issue these days, though, just because of
Quick, the
it's.
repairs are so quick, 9-month timeline, you're
Mhm.
ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's less of a disaster if you tear your ACL. It's not good, let's be clear, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, back to the game real quick. We'll do a couple more. Julia Hart or Mariah May?
That's a tough one. I'm gonna go Mariah.
Okay, that's fair. I
She's
think
she's
I'm not.
already farther along as a wrestler and
Mhm.
as a performer, like character wise, she's grown a lot. I still think that she's relatively raw and green, but she's peaked higher, so I'm gonna
Mhm.
lean Mariah.
Okay. Let's do Megan Bain. Julia Hart or Megan Bain?
If Tony keeps booking Megan Bain,
Yeah.
like we're gonna get to her in a minute. I wanted to see her because I've only seen a couple of GCW matches, which her against Atticus Kogar. How are you supposed to really be able to project that forward?
It's a little different, a little different.
But her look is so incredible, and she moves well. You can tell that she's like Jade Cargill was a natural athlete, but she was clunky.
Mhm.
Megan Bain is a lot more fluid and a lot more able to do some of those linear things where Jade really wasn't. So
Yeah.
I'm so high on what she can be, but as it is with any bigger wrestler, how you book them can be really challenging. And I thought they booked her very well in that title match, and we'll get to that in a minute.
All right. And the other two I'll drop you. You know what? We'll do three. And then I'll stop. Julia Hart versus Sky Blue.
Julia Hart.
Yeah, I think that's an easy one there. I agree with you. Julia Hart versus Thunder Rosa.
Uh, Thunder Rosa is far and away better now, but that back to
Yeah,
me
she
feels
is
like a
she
ticking
is
time bomb.
38.
She's
Let me replace
38?
Thunder Rose.
Oh,
Yeah,
good
Rosa
lord.
is she got started late though, so like
Okay.
that is so it's not as bad. In terms of like her long-term prognosis as a professional wrestler, but the back is concerning. I will replace Thunder Rosa with Queen Amina.
Aminata.
You
Her
think so? Over
presence
Julia
is,
Hart?
yeah, her Aminata's presence is incredible. That
I
that
think
is the
she could.
future megastar.
Yeah, I think she could be a star for sure. It's just a matter of like getting that opportunity. I'd like to see her be featured a little bit more. Um, and the last one, Willow Nightingale.
Willow with a
I
bullet.
agree. Yeah,
Willow is, I mean, everybody who listens to the show knows how we feel about Willow Nightingale.
yeah.
Willow's
I
incredible.
I don't want to take this completely off the rails, but I am getting a little concerned about the usage of Willow recently, like this year.
Yeah.
Like being positioned where she was with Swerve Strickland for that short period was nice, don't get me wrong, but moving beyond that, it's kind of like, oh, I don't know. I don't.
It,
I worry that maybe they don't see her as a major star, which is insane to me. But
I view it the other way.
mhm.
They don't have
It,
anything good enough for her, so they're keeping her off TV.
so you think she's in that vortex of like she's a star, but we don't want her to job kind of thing?
Yes. I think they
That's
really
fair. That's
wanted to
fair.
go with the Mariah May, Tony Storm story. They're building up this Owen Hart tournament, and you have like Athena and Mercedes, which I think Mercedes wins the belt from Athena at Supercard of Honor. She's doing a belt collector gimmick right now.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I just said Billy Starks probably beats Athena for the title, it's probably Billy Starks beats Mercedes for the title. I don't think that there's enough for her right now. So don't overexpose her. Keep her off TV for a little bit,
Okay.
and we'll
All
see.
right. I don't know that I fully agree with that theory from Tony Khan's standpoint, but
I
that's
don't know if I do either, but
yeah, but that's a completely different discussion for us to have on a show where we aren't like trying to get through the rest of this pay-per-view that I already feel bad for dragging down a little bit. But yeah, let's get back to Megan Bay and Tony Storm. Man, I think Tony Storm had a hell of a night.
this was great. Tony was great. To
Mm,
me, I gave this my match of the night. I loved this.
yeah,
Tony bumped her ass off. Megan Bain looked like $1,000,000. Like physically, she's just so impressive. It's like she's a Greek goddess chiseled out of stone. Just a physically impressive looking athlete. And then you see her get in the ring and she can move. She's got power and she's got this physical aura. And Tony just played completely into that with the whole Rocky 3 thing because obviously
yeah,
Rocky going up against Clubber Lang in the rematch. That was the whole motif of it.
yeah.
It was, I gave this 4.5. I loved it.
Wow. I liked this. I thought it was a 3.5 match. I thought Tony came out looking like a damn star. I mean, like I think I think this may have, I don't know if this was just an offhand comment from Dave Meltzer. I didn't listen to it, but do you think Tony Storm is the biggest star AEW has right now? Or at least biggest babyface star?
No, I think that's still Kenny Omega. But
Yeah.
look, it's a discussion. And
I think I'd go Omega Swerve Tony,
I think that's fair.
but I think
Hangman, is
yeah,
he?
I think I might put him a little below Storm right now. And if you wanted to put Storm above the other two, I don't think I'd fight it.
Yeah.
It's I don't know that I'm not 100% sure on what order I would put them in, but she's one of their top 4 stars minimum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like top 5, maybe there's someone I'm forgetting. Like
Yeah.
I think she's a bigger star than Moxley. I think I know that they have Mox as the champ, but I think she's does more business wise than Mox.
Based
Probably.
on what we saw, I think what was last week in the Observer, I don't think she does.
Yeah, that again, I mentioned it earlier. That the mock stuff did move numbers.
Yeah.
Um,
So I need to correct myself. I only went 4 on this match. 4.5 is I misread my own writing because I'm an idiot.
you're on a hot one, buddy.
Dog, I had a 9 a.m. meeting and I went to bed at 2. That does not jive with me, brother. But it's fine. No, I still really liked it. I thought
Oh, it was a good match. It was a good match.
the finish to me was flawless.
Four and
Megan
a half
Bain,
was
yeah, Megan
four and a
Bain's
half would have
going,
been like a little like, whoa, okay,
yeah, Bain's going for what like that. It's like an F5 gimmick,
yeah,
and Tony Storm gets a small package showing like, hey, Bain's really good, and it took smarts to beat her. I
yeah.
thought was a
The
really
big
smart.
package, sir.
The big package.
Boy, she is insane on commentary.
Oh,
I
the
like
one
that.
was a man from Nantucket.
She is a force to be reckoned with on commentary. I'm amused by it typically.
Yeah.
Um. Anyways, what was next? Fletcher Briscoe. This was
This I went
very
4.5
good.
plus.
I
Wow.
went 4.25 on it. Very good match. Fletcher is that I heard the flagship have a little discussion on this. They were debating if he is one of the top, like where he fits into the top wrestlers in the world right now, and they suggested that he is a potentially a top 3 wrestler right now.
Based on current performance only, yeah, I think that's a plausible take.
Now, this is keep in mind that Joe is definitely not a Joshi guy, and Rich is not like super plugged into that scene, right? Um, I gotta have Osprey's better, and Takeshita is better. I feel like that's pretty fair, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know who should
Versus
be
what
number one?
who
Our IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Hiroki Goto.
I I thought about Goto. I think they're close to each other.
I'm memeing. He shouldn't be one, but I love this
Okay,
Goto run.
Goto's having a good year, man. I'm not gonna. I mean, he is like the most watchable thing in New Japan right now.
It just
He's
he's not a gimmick. He's just real. Like you know
he's a
what you're gonna
damn
get
good
from
worker too.
Goto.
Yeah, I mean, I am pro Goto. I have no problem with Goto. He's a top 10 guy for me this year right now, more or less. Do you think Zack Sabre Jr. is better than Kyle Fletcher?
I'm gonna be honest. It's hard for me with Zack Sabre Jr. because I think his matches oftentimes bore me.
Oh no,
But
minority opinion.
he's objectively great. Well, to against some opponents,
How
like
dare you? You have an opinion that other people don't agree with. This is when the death threats start.
that's fine. I had somebody look back at I did a draft party with
Yeah.
one of the local companies I work for, and I sat on the couch and I displaced the couch cushions at 6'6", 330 pounds. Oh my gosh, I displaced the couch cushion. Just incredible stuff. But
A
yeah,
monster.
I think Zack Sabre Jr. is an objectively great wrestler. Sometimes his matches get a little monotonous and boring, and they
Okay.
aren't as engaging for me personally. That doesn't mean I don't think he's great, but it does limit the potential ceiling because if I'm not that engaged with it, there's only so much objectivity I can put into that because subjectivity is going to matter a lot.
You heard it
And
here, folks. Tyler Fornes hates Zack Sabre Jr.
well, he should maybe think
with
about
every
eating meat.
fiber of his body.
Um, I think I'd put Fletcher ahead of Zack Sabre Jr. Fletcher's style is more appealing to me, but so that's a caveat.
You can contact Tyler Fornes by calling him at 763.
Wrong area code. Good try though.
I looked it up. All right. Just joking. Okay. So, okay, let's get back to this match. I don't want to do another like who do you like better thing, but uh, Fletcher is so damn good. Like he's outworth I think one of the 10 best wrestlers in the world. Like he's just really freaking good. And Briscoe, and I think Mark Briscoe is getting close to having like an annual most underpushed argument in professional wrestling because he is so talented and also really over, and he's just put in that like happy-go-lucky mid-card babyface position.
He's just so authentic.
Yeah, and I just wish that he was used a little heavier. That he was used as more of a dude that matters kind of situation.
Yeah, I agree.
I could like I genuinely thought that after the death of Jay that he could have been like a real top main eventer, and maybe they decided not to do that because of you know the death of Jay. But I think he's got legs beyond just like the "we're sorry your family member died," you know,
Yeah.
variety. And I'd love to see it, but I think this is more or less where he's going to be in his entire AEW run, and it's not like he'd be used better in WWE. So I don't know, man. Like, what do you think? Do you think he's underused, or do you think he's like appropriately used?
I think this just kind of goes to AEW just has too many people that they could realistically give a humongous push to right now. And it's a good and a bad thing. I think you could put the rocket pack on Briscoe. I don't think anybody complain. except maybe
Yeah.
Hangman and Swerve fans. Personally, when I look at it, I would get behind Briscoe, but would I get behind him much more than I am right now? Probably not. For the time being, I think you can continue this run. You can continue building him up. I think you maybe have him beat Adam Cole for the TNT title, run with that for a little while, have a bunch of really cool last matches on television, and then maybe you elevate him, give him a world title shot in like a year. But
Okay, that's all right.
there's just a lot of guys that you should push
Oh
heavy
no,
right
they have
now.
a huge roster. They have a huge roster, and they have a very talented roster.
I think you should stay on the TNT level for the moment, but I think you
Okay.
could flip the switch and give him a world title run. I think you would be justified. The whole first year after Jay's passing was about getting him the Ring of Honor world title.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think,
a good storyline, unfortunately, on a secondary platform.
and it also ended up being justified based on the wrestler, which
Hmm.
like Rey Mysterio won the world title in 06 because Eddie passed away.
Yeah.
That felt forced. This, it felt like the trajectory, but he didn't win it at first. He had to like scratch and claw, and then he got it.
Yeah, because Mark Briscoe's awesome, and that was a good story with him.
Yeah.
And
So much about it is just authenticity. He's just,
this, but this was a great match.
it was
It
four
was
and a
a
half
great
plus.
outing for Briscoe. Yeah, I think I went 4.25. Yeah, 4.25 on this one.
I did.
Very good
Well,
stuff.
I have one major critique. I
Okay.
hated that Briscoe used the cutthroat driver and it didn't finish the match. Like Fletcher rolled out of the ring, so he wasn't like pinned, but Fletcher shouldn't have been able to roll out of the ring because it's basically a burning hammer. I don't like
Yeah,
that.
I'm okay with them escaping. I'm okay with them escaping.
I'm more okay with them escaping than kicking out, but I don't think he should have
Yeah,
been able to escape because it's basically a burning hammer. That's just me. Your mileage will vary. Speaking of your
sure.
mileage may vary here, Fred, let's get
Yeah.
to probably the worst match on the show. And I didn't even think it was that bad. The Ring of Honor World Championship versus Mask match. The Nueve Chris Jericho versus Bandito. They have a match. And then they do a dusty finish.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of debate about the Dusty finish. I've got to be honest. I liked it. I don't want this to happen regularly. Let's be clear, but I think it works here. I think with the storyline, and I think Jericho's been a great heel in this story ever since he like got a little more serious. I think he's been doing his best to carry himself, within his abilities. Because look,
Mhm.
he's limited in 2025.
He
We
did
we
have
are
a really
watching.
good lion salt in this match, though. I'll give him that.
Yeah, this is not a bad outing for him, but he is limited in what he can do, and that's just part of the reality of what he is in 2025. But I mean, he is still at worst. Well, okay, at worst he's kind of bad. But on this night he was solid. It was not by any stretch a disaster. Um, I think this was an okay match. I went 3 stars on it. I was all right with the shenanigans. I think it worked. And I get the people that are like, "Well, the main event had all the run-ins. Why didn't they restart that?" Yeah, that's a fair point. But also, like, I don't know. I'm not going to complain about a little gimmicky babyface win for Bandito here. Like that's it's fine. It's all right.
Yeah. I will say the context with the Dusty finish I think is fair because apparently in Lucha they do this kind of stuff all the time with mass matches. So
Hmm.
I don't have an inherent issue with it. But I don't know. Uh, with this audience, do you want to do that?
Yeah, they can suck it up. It worked in the building, I think.
Oh, it did. A lot
It
of
was
us were
over big, I thought, in the building.
wait, are they really going to take Bandito's mask? They got me. They got a lot of
Yeah, and
us.
I think they got a lot of the crowd. I think it worked well. I mean, you can complain about it in hindsight, sure, but I think it worked all right. I think it was successful with the crowd. That's what you're looking for in this kind of, situation. So I can't really fathom, complaining about that. because it worked. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't like everything in wrestling that works, but it worked, and I think you have to at least admit that.
Mm-hmm. All right. I gave that one 3.25. That actually wasn't the worst match. Because this one was
I thought
Daniel
the main was
Garcia.
the worst.
What?
I thought the main was the worst match
Oh no, this one
personally,
was
but
way worse. Daniel Garcia losing the TNT Championship to Adam Cole.
I thought
I
this
hated
was.
this.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. Don't get me wrong. I thought
The
this was
work wasn't
another
bad.
like,
I just hated it.
yeah, it was cold. It was definitely cold. I think that Adam Cole has been way underwhelming since he returned from injury. I think that's a fair critique, and I think that one thing I'm worried about is that since the start of the year, Daniel Garcia has also been a little underwhelming on the in the ring, and these two combined have not been a good combination, and
Yeah.
that stinks. Um, I remain high on Daniel Garcia. We'll see what he does away from this storyline. If once he gets to not wrestling Adam Cole seemingly every collision. Um, I think these two just do not work well together, and that's kind of where I am right now. It doesn't do much for. I know that there's some like Daniel Garcia haters. This was not a good night to disprove them.
No.
Uh, but I like him. I think he's a good worker. I like watching Daniel Garcia typically. I am worried about Adam Cole. I think he's recovered slightly since like the work, when he first came back and they forgot. I mean, I know why, but still deciding to resume the MJF storyline was insane to me. Um, I would have pretended that never happened. I just would not have acknowledged it if I could have got away with that. Um,
I get that.
and I don't know, man. I think this was a real bummer of a match. But it was technically sound. It was just cold, so I gave it 3 stars. Maybe I should have been harsher on it, but that's where I am.
I went 2. Uh, Adam Cole sucks. I'm sorry. Um, but that's enough of that. Let's get to actual good wrestling. The 3-way for the AEW International title.
This was the match of the night, I thought.
Kenny Omega versus Ricochet versus Speedball Mike Bailey. It probably had about 8 different places where it could end, but I kind of liked how it felt like an epic where they really utilized the third person well in the like how the match kept going, even though it probably shouldn't have. It was a long match, but you never felt like you were bored. There was always stuff going on. They kept you engaged. They probably could have, slowed the match down. Sorry, not slowed the match down, ended it earlier. But this is great. Ricochet and commentary, just
Yeah, that was a
talking
nice spot.
shit, and Speedball just kicking him. Oh,
That was good stuff.
phenomenal. The finish was awesome. I really like that with the one winged angel off the second turnbuckle, and then Speedball is drops down like he's in the tree of woe, and he's
Yeah,
got Ricochet's leg and can't do anything about it. I thought
yeah, it
that
was a
was
good finish.
tremendous. This was just a very well worked match. Speedball was great. Ricochet was great. Omega was great. Um, for 4.25, 4.5. I'm
I
right in
went
there.
5 on this.
Wow.
Yeah, I like this. It was. I mean, it was. Look, it was all action. These guys worked hard. I thought that the work was magnificent, and I thought it was a great match. Uh, you know, I thought Bailey acquitted himself very well. It's not that I question Bailey's abilities, but I question how he would fit into the company. He has been nicely used as a solid mid card babyface. Um, I like where he is right now, so that's been a plus for him for sure. I mean, like Kenny Omega looked great. I thought everyone looked great in this match, and I thought it was a very exciting match. And by the end, I thought it was just great, frankly.
It was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is a great way to continue that introduction of speedball into AEW. Ricochet. That man was.
He could be a world champ, I think.
I do too. It's John Moxley said on Dynamite this week, this is the most talented roster in the world. This might be the most talented roster ever. Other than like
There's an argument.
90s All Japan, peak New Japan in the golden era with Okada. This is incredible.
But I mean, this roster has got like, you know, friggin' Black Taurus is a mid carder, you know?
I wouldn't
Like,
even call him a mid card. He doesn't win.
yeah, I mean, like, not an upper mid carder, I'll say that much. You know? Like, I think it's a great roster. I just think it's filled with a bunch of talent and, like a embarrassment of riches kind of situation, frankly.
Yeah.
But I love this match. I mean, I'm a sucker for all action matches, which is what this was 100%. Um, the lots of like new novel spots that I think were very impressive, and I just love this match. I just thought it was great.
Yeah, it was. And final match of the night. John
Not so
Moxley
great. Not so
defeats
great.
Swerve Strickland to retain the title. I'm going to be honest. I was really into this match, but you always had that little floating thing in the back of your head. Well, we know Hangman's coming. And he did.
Yeah.
So let's start there because I thought up until that point, it was like a 4-star match. It was good. Hangman comes. He's debating, is he going to want to hit Swerve? Is he going to want to hit Mox? And then Pac comes down and they do their thing.
Audio. Yeah,
I think Hangman ended up hitting Mox, if I recall correctly.
he did. He did because that was directly after like all the Death Riders jumped him, and you had the Ops come out. Um, I'm not feeling this like Ops being put in the position of like probably the centerpiece of Blood and Guts or something. Like, mm, it just feels too forced. You know, I'm hoping that that's not what we're moving towards. They set up the trios title match, which if that's going to be the case, fine. You know, but
Yeah.
I don't want to see them be like, oh, what we've got to do now is have a 5-man anarchy in the arena with the Death Riders and the Ops. Like that doesn't have any juice, man.
No, it doesn't. But then the lights go out and it's Sabu. No, it wasn't Sabu. It was the Young Bucks who each have an arm of Swerve and they hit him with the EVP trigger. Moxley gets the win. And we're just like, what? And it became evidently clear the direction is going to be the Bucks versus Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland. And then on Dynamite, they included Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada. So we might get Kenny, Hangman, and Swerve versus the Elite at Double or Nothing in a 6-man trios match. Who takes the fall there? Probably Matt Jackson. That would be my best guess. But one, that'll rule. Two, I kind of like the direction that they're going with this Hangman and Swerve thing because it's almost like, hey, I hate your guts, but it's also an understanding of why the other side feels the way they do. I kind of liked that where Swerve, like, Hangman's like, I had to burn your house down. Swerve's like, or you deserved it. And he's like, I know I did. I thought that was cool where like they still hate each other, but then there's almost like a mutual understanding of things. Mm-hmm. And like you can kind of get a short little run here and then have them blow up again and then just continue this blood feud, which has been absolutely phenomenal. I don't know if I would do it, but the fact that they are doing it, I feel like it's okay. I feel like it's good with that context built in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really don't know how to feel about the Swerve thing, Swerve and Pinkman storyline. I don't hate it. I know that much. I don't know that I love it, but I think that it was a smart way to distract from the fact that they weren't going to have Swerve win the title, is to be, immediately put him into a different storyline. Like, I think that's good booking. Um, I don't know that it's going to. I just don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of really in the middle on this one, and I guess we will see how it goes. Because I feel like it may be a touch too cute, a little too, uh, a little too like the whole enemies to lovers thing, uh, from fiction that is popular now with the lit TikTok, um, etc. It's hitting it pretty hard, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Like, it's a little unsubtle, but I don't know. Wrestling's not a particularly subtle thing, so I guess we'll see. I'm not out on it. I don't know that it's going to be a success, but it is two great performers, so I'm not really concerned with it. Like, I think it'll be fine, whatever route they take with it.
Yeah. Only time will tell.
Yeah,
But that's the show, Fred.
yeah, it is the show.
I
It was all right. It was a decent enough pay-per-view. I don't think it'll be like it's not a show of the year contender by any stretch.
No. But I didn't waste my time. Didn't waste my money. Good,
Yeah, I thought it
good
was like a
wrestling show.
6, maybe a 7 out of 10.
And that's exactly where Cage Match has it. So, like, that's perfect. Like,
Yeah.
it's a good way to spend a Sunday night in April.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure you give us 5 stars on iTunes, and make sure you subscribe. We greatly appreciate all of you. I'm Tyler. It's Fred. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Hello, everyone. My name is Taylor.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are the co-hosts of Jumping Bomb Audio, the #1 show all about the world of Joshi Pro Wrestling. Episodes drop every other Monday, where we discuss the biggest Joshi news, review shows, and preview the hottest upcoming Joshi action.
So whether you're a new fan or an old fan, we've got something here for you at Jumping Bomb Audio.
Check us out on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.